I swear to God, there was somebody that just called me in the green room, actually. I mean, they lost their life savings on one of these. They were the ultra-low ETFs, the inverse ultra-low ETFs.
Is it an ETF or an ETN? Do you know? Were they sure?
It's actually an ETF, yeah. And I know there's problems with the ETNs, but all of these ETP products, exchange-traded products, I think, are the general funds are okay that are based upon the S&P index, et cetera. But some of these, I mean, they're just crazy, Michelle. I mean, even Vegas, who's come up with the, David Hasselhoff, Hoffmania, where you want to get 5 David Hasselhoffs, they haven't come up with as wild a bets as we have for these ETNs and these
If I could
leverage.
probe the example you just used, and I feel very bad for the individual that you spoke with that you said lost everything, but I mean, did you ask them why they had everything in one product? I mean, you can't regulate really bad decisions, can you?
No, and there's a difference between the bad decisions, you're right, and what this guy's concerned about actually was manipulation. I don't even want to say the product because I don't know about it specifically, but it's like I said, it's an inverse ultra low ETF. And based upon the VIX, and there's only a couple out there, you can figure it out. But he thinks it was actually pushed, the price was pushed around, and so I've sent him to Karestein and others at the SEC. But I mean, the general question, and we've gone around on this with regard to digital currencies, et cetera, Michelle, is whether or not there's enough consumer information so average mom and pop investors, and 1 of every 2 families has a stock investor, if they are getting the right information, if they know what they're investing, certainly the sophisticated traders, they should know, and they should know better to place all their eggs in one basket. But mom and pop investors needs to know that these things are really out there. They are wild. You could risk everything and lose it. And that's what I think the SEC needs to move towards, and I think they're going to.
What tells you that the people who are investing in these kinds of esoteric products don't understand them? I mean, do you?
Well, it's anecdotal for people I speak with. I mean, I don't have data telling me, but I have given that markets have been on such a tear for the last, 13 months, I mean, a lot of people are looking at different places to diversify, and they're feeling a little free up until, Friday. They were feeling a little free with their money, and they get talked into these things, maybe not, pushed, but their investment advisors are telling them, hey, you've got this, you could make 2 times, 3 times. If you go short, or if you do the leverage, you can get 2 or 3 times.
And they're chasing past performance, I'm sure. They look at how those things had performed, and they say, well, there was no volatility, and these guys were triple levered against it, and look at the money they made. So they do what lots of investors do, and they chase the prior returns, right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying they need to have full information. They need to look at these prospectuses. They need to know about the fees.
They're too long. They're 179 pages. I mean, I'm sure there were lots. In fact, we know there were lots and lots of warnings in there. But if people don't read them, what do you do?
Well, there's also, here, I'll make your argument too, Michelle. See, everybody comes up with so many regulations that you have, pages and pages, and it doesn't matter, right?
Music to my ears, yeah.
What I think the SEC is going to do is they're going to come up with, the key regulations, and they're going to put them in big font, and they're going to make sure that if you've opted out of statements, that you actually get them delivered to you. So I think they will come up with the key things, and those key things.
How do you regulate greed, Bart?
You can't regulate greed.
It's like housing, right? Just buy an apartment in 2005, put some carpet in, equity line it up, take the cash out, buy another apartment, do the same thing over and over again until there's nobody left to sell to. I mean, it's been a money-making trade for 3 years. People just thought, dumb about it.
But, Brian, they need to have information, and some of this isn't available to them. Fees are hidden. And particularly for these products we're talking about, the fees are often a lot higher than just a regular ETF or a regular stock trade. And in addition to, forget about the investor protections. I know you guys care about it. I won't be cavalier. But put those aside for a minute. What's the impact on the market of these things? I mean, we've got Larry Fink in 2014 saying they could blow up the industry. We've got BlackRock coming out. So it's not just me. BlackRock coming out in the last 2 days, the largest asset manager, saying we do need to classify these things differently. So it's not like it's a lone liberal.
That was my question. Are you talking about all the ETPs, or will you put aside the ETFs and focused on the leveraged products?
The leveraged and the inverse, and the notes, the leverage, the inverse, and the notes, not the regular standard. I mean, the ETFs that are based upon, you know, whatever U.S. Oil, U.S. nat gas, the S&P. Those are standard things. They're easy to follow. They're good investments, and particularly for mom and pops, they're good places to invest in the market. But these really exotic things, I mean, it reminds me back in the day with credit default swaps. They were really ingenious products, needed products for the markets. But, you know, Wall Street sort of went overboard and sliced and diced them, and we know what the result of that was, 2008. So I'm just saying be cautious, and I think the SEC is going to, one, I guarantee you, they are looking at some of these markets from Friday and from Monday. They are looking at what's happening, who was in the markets then. And two, I think they're going to revisit this whole issue of regulation of these things, and I would be really surprised, even in a time where we're doing away with stinking regulations, if they don't propose something this year.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.